Good morning. Welcome to today's bilingual budget hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2024-2025 city budget. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce our interpreter, Mario Barajas, for today's hearing.
Thank you, Gina. Good morning. My name is Mario Barajas, and together with my other two colleagues, we're going to be serving as Spanish interpreters this morning. Now, I do want to introduce ourselves to our Spanish speakers, as well, and review some instructions, brief instructions with our Spanish residents. Buenos días, mi nombre es Mario Barajas. Voy a estar sirviendo como intérprete de habla hispana junto con mis colegas que estaremos aquí interpretándoles. Quisiera repasar con ustedes un par de puntitos en lo cual nos podrá ayudar a facilitarles la interpretación. Quisiéramos informarles de que si acaso van a dar un comentario público, por favor, hablen con lentitud, claramente, y también pedimos de que pause después de una o dos oraciones. Así, de esa manera podremos interpretar de la mejor manera completa posible. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you, Mario. Before we begin discussion on the proposed trial budget, we will play a 2-minute video in both English and Spanish about the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. The master plan will define the community's vision and guide the department's direction for the next 10 years and beyond. And the Parks and Recreation Department strongly encourages resident feedback.
Welcome to the City of Phoenix Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Welcome to the City of Phoenix Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Phoenix Parks and Recreation is dedicated to making Phoenix a better place to live, visit, and play. In this video, we will be answering 3 basic questions. 1. What is a master plan? 2. What is the focus of Phoenix Parks and Recreation's master plan? And 3. How can you get involved? First, what is a master plan? A master plan develops a clear purpose for our department and the vision for recreation facilities, programs, and services for the next decade. A master plan provides an opportunity to receive quality feedback and have meaningful engagement from the community. The Phoenix Parks and Recreation Master Plan will start in fall of 2023 and last approximately 18 months. Second, what is the focus of this master plan? As part of our master plan, Phoenix Parks and Recreation will be evaluating and taking inventory of all existing parks, recreation programming, and facilities, with an emphasis on water conservation and crime prevention. We will also assess community demographics and recreation trends to ensure equitable access to programs and services, and will evaluate how the department prioritizes funding. Lastly, how can you get involved? A large part of the master plan depends on you and your feedback. Phoenix Parks and Recreation will host community workshops, send out surveys, attend community events, survey neighborhoods and parks facilities, and work with community groups to receive feedback about our parks and recreation amenities and services. It's crucial to have public feedback throughout the entire process because, after all, our department serves thousands of Phoenicians every day. Thank you for being part of this journey as we pave the way for the next decade of parks and recreation services, creating spaces for all.
Bienvenidos al Plan Maestro del Departamento de Parques y Recreación de la ciudad de Phoenix. Parques y Recreación de Phoenix está dedicado a hacer de Phoenix un mejor lugar donde vivir, visitar y jugar. En este video estaremos contestando 3 preguntas básicas. 1. ¿Qué es un plan maestro? 2. ¿Cuál es el enfoque del plan maestro del Departamento de Parques y Recreación de Phoenix? Y 3. ¿Cómo usted puede involucrarse? Primero, ¿qué es un plan maestro? Un plan maestro es una herramienta que se utiliza para guiar el desarrollo de parques y recreación por toda la ciudad. El plan brinda una visión clara para las instalaciones de recreación, actividades recreativas, programas y servicios para la próxima década. Un plan maestro brinda la oportunidad de recibir comentarios y contar con la participación de la comunidad. El plan maestro del Departamento de Parques y Recreación de Phoenix comenzará en el otoño de 2023 y durará aproximadamente 18 meses. Segundo, ¿cuál es el enfoque del plan maestro del Departamento de Parques y Recreación? Como parte de nuestro plan maestro, el Departamento de Parques y Recreación de Phoenix evaluará y tomará inventario de todos los parques existentes, los programas de recreación e instalaciones, con un enfoque en la conservación del agua y prevención de crímenes. También evaluaremos los datos demográficos de las comunidades y las tendencias en la recreación para garantizar acceso equitativo a los programas y servicios. Y evaluaremos cómo priorizar los fondos del departamento. Por último, ¿cómo usted puede involucrarse? Gran parte del plan maestro depende de usted y de sus comentarios. El Departamento de Parques y Recreación estará patrocinando talleres comunitarios, enviará encuestas, asistirá a eventos comunitarios, encuestará a los vecindarios y las instalaciones de parques y trabajará con los grupos comunitarios para recibir opiniones sobre nuestras instalaciones y servicios de parques y recreación. Es importante contar con la opinión del público a lo largo de todo este proceso, porque al fin y al cabo, nuestro departamento presta servicio a miles de fenicios cada día. Gracias por formar parte de este viaje en el que preparamos el camino para la próxima década de servicios de parques y recreación, creando espacios para todos.
The feedback we received today is important as we finalize the proposed trial budget to present to City Council, so your input may be heard and considered before the budget is approved. The proposed budget will be presented to City Council on May 7th and voted on May 21st. As presented to City Council on February 27th and March 19th, the FY 2024-25 proposed general fund budget includes a one-time $80 million surplus. Unfortunately, due to the state's actions to eliminate residential rental sales tax effective January 2025, and to reduce the individual income tax rate to the current flat tax, deficits are projected in FY 2025-26 and FY 2026-27. Because the city is required to adopt a balanced budget, it is recommended to set aside the $80 million one-time surplus so it may be available to help balance the FY 2025-26 budget. If you wish to speak at today's hearing on the proposed budget, please fill out a comment card. If you do not want to speak but want to leave a comment, you can fill out a comment card and check the box No to speak. Another way to participate is through the Fund Phoenix tool. This online tool lets you provide direct feedback on the proposed budget and is available at Phoenix.gov/budget. We will now play the 5-minute video on the proposed trial budget in Spanish and English. This video includes information on the General Obligation GO bond program, approved by the voters on November 7th, 2023. Immediately following the video, we will move to speaker comments.
The City of Phoenix trial budget for fiscal year 2024-2025, proposed by the Phoenix City Manager, is ready for public review and comment. A trial budget is a preliminary draft of the actual budget, estimating resources and costs to deliver services to the community for the coming fiscal year. How does Phoenix's annual budget work? The city budget is made up of 3 funds: the General Fund, Enterprise Funds, and Special Revenue Funds. The general fund is made up of general sales tax, property taxes, revenue distributed by the state from income tax, sales tax, and vehicle tax, and some fines and fees. The general fund supports many of the core services our residents, visitors, and businesses have come to expect in Phoenix, including libraries, parks, senior and youth programs, and police and fire services. Enterprise funds include city departments that only charge the people who use their services directly, like water and sewer, airline passengers at Sky Harbor, and trash and recycling customers. Finally, special revenue funds earmarked for specific purposes, from grants and voter-approved sales taxes dedicated for parks and preserves, transportation, and public safety. That's how Phoenix gets its money. Now, how do we spend it? Phoenix has a long history of responsible budgeting, ensuring resources are balanced to projected expenses each fiscal year. A top priority of the City Council is to ensure the public can engage in the budget development process every year, giving the community a voice in the future of our city. Residents have multiple opportunities to provide their input ahead of final budget decision-making scheduled for May 21st. Each year, departments work with budget and research to estimate costs to deliver existing programs and services, and staff forecast what resources will be available to pay for services. The city manager then proposes a trial budget in March that identifies how resources should best be allocated to ensure a balanced budget each fiscal year and to achieve city council and community priorities. Then we ask for your input at community budget hearings in April by using the Fund Phoenix interactive budget tool available in English and Spanish, or by contacting the city directly to ensure the budget reflects the priorities of our residents and city council. After receiving your input, the city council will vote on the budget in May and legally adopt the budget in June. State law requires the city's budget to be balanced, and this year, the 2024-25 proposed budget includes a projected one-time general fund surplus of $80 million. However, the state legislative and executive branches recently made decisions that reduce the city's tax base. Senate Bill 1131 eliminates residential rental tax, and Senate Bill 1828 reduced individual income tax rates. The total general fund estimated impact in fiscal year 2024-25 is $54 million, and for fiscal year 25-26, $86 million from the state's actions. Due to the estimated ongoing revenue losses, city staff is projecting future deficits in fiscal years 2025-26 and 2026-27. And it is for this reason the city manager is proposing to set aside and reserve the $80 million one-time surplus to ensure future budgets can remain balanced and to preserve existing programs and services such as police and fire, parks, libraries, neighborhood and human services, and other essential community programs that can continue to be delivered to the community. We encourage you to provide your input in whatever way works best for you. You can use Fund Phoenix, an interactive budget tool in English and Spanish that lets you provide direct feedback on the proposed fiscal year 2024-25 general fund trial budget, or by email at budget.research@Phoenix.gov. You can comment to the city's social media pages at City of Phoenix AZ on Facebook or on X using hashtag PHXBudget, or call us at 602-262-4800. The city manager will present his proposed budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 to Phoenix City Council on May 7th, 2024. The council's budget decision will take place on May 21st, 2024. All resident feedback will be shared with City Council so they may consider it before making final budget decisions. As a reminder, in November 2023, voters approved a $500 million general obligation bond program made up of 47 projects citywide. Projects include new and improved fire stations, parks, libraries, community and recreation centers, regional pools and splash pads, street and storm drain infrastructure improvements, projects for art facilities, and resources for affordable housing, renewable energy, and water efficiency projects. GeoBond projects are paid for with secondary property taxes, and projects are starting this summer. More information can be found online at Phoenix.gov/bond. Thank you for engaging in the budget process and helping build the Phoenix of tomorrow.
El presupuesto de prueba de la Municipalidad de Phoenix para el año fiscal 2024-2025, propuesto por el administrador municipal de Phoenix, está listo para la revisión y comentarios del público. Un presupuesto de la prueba es un borrador preliminar del presupuesto real, estimando los recursos y costos para presentar servicios a la comunidad para el próximo año fiscal. ¿Cómo funciona el presupuesto anual de Phoenix? El presupuesto de la municipalidad se compone de 3 fondos: el fondo general, los fondos empresariales y los fondos de ingresos especiales. El Fondo General se compone del impuesto general sobre las ventas, los impuestos sobre las propiedades, los ingresos distribuidos por el Estado procedentes de impuestos sobre la renta, el impuesto sobre las ventas y el impuesto sobre vehículos, y algunas multas y tasas. El Fondo General apoya muchos de los servicios básicos que nuestros residentes, visitantes y empresas han llegado a esperar en Phoenix, incluyendo bibliotecas, parques, programas para adultos mayores y jóvenes, y servicios de la policía y bomberos. Los fondos empresariales incluyen los departamentos de municipalidades que solo cobran directamente a las personas que han utilizado sus servicios, como el agua y el alcantarillado, los pasajeros aéreos en Sky Harbor y los clientes de los servicios de basura y reciclaje. Por último, los fondos de ingresos especiales, destinados a fines específicos a partir de subvenciones e impuestos sobre las ventas aprobadas por los votantes, están dedicados a parques y reservas, transporte y seguridad pública. Así es como Phoenix consigue su dinero. Ahora, ¿cómo lo gastamos? Phoenix cuenta con un largo historial de presupuestos responsables, que garantiza el equilibrio entre los recursos y los gastos previstos para cada año fiscal. Una de las principales prioridades del Consejo Municipal es asegurar que el público pueda participar en el proceso de desarrollo de presupuesto cada año, dando a la comunidad una voz en el futuro de nuestra ciudad. Los residentes tienen múltiples oportunidades para dar su opinión antes de la decisión final sobre el presupuesto, prevista para el 21 de mayo. Cada año, los departamentos estudian lo que se necesitará para presentar servicios al año siguiente, y el personal prevé los recursos que dispondrá para pagarlos. A continuación, el administrador municipal propone en marzo de cada año un presupuesto de prueba en el que se determina la mejor forma de asignar los recursos para garantizar un presupuesto equilibrado cada año fiscal y cumplir con las prioridades del Consejo Municipal y la comunidad. A continuación, le pedimos su opinión en las audiencias comunitarias sobre el presupuesto que se celebra en abril. Utilizamos las herramientas interactivas del presupuesto Fund Phoenix disponible en inglés y español, o poniéndose en contacto directamente con la municipalidad para garantizar que el presupuesto refleja las prioridades de nuestros residentes y el Consejo Municipal. Tras recibir sus aportaciones, la municipalidad votará sobre el presupuesto en mayo y lo aprobará legalmente en junio de cada año. La ley estatal exige que el presupuesto de la municipalidad sea conciliado, y este año el presupuesto para 2024-25 incluye un superávit único proyectado de $80 millones en el Fondo General. Sin embargo, recientemente los poderes legislativo y ejecutivo del estado tomaron decisiones que reducen la base tributaria de la ciudad. El proyecto de ley del Senado 1131 elimina el impuesto sobre alquileres residenciales, y el proyecto de ley del Senado 1828 redujo las tasas tributarias individuales. Debido a las estimadas pérdidas continuas de ingresos, el personal de la ciudad está proyectando déficits futuros en los años fiscales 2025-26 y 2026-27, y es por eso que el administrador municipal está proponiendo reservar los $80 millones de superávit único para garantizar que los presupuestos futuros puedan mantenerse equilibrados y para preservar los programas y servicios existentes, como la policía y los bomberos, parques, bibliotecas, servicios de vecindarios y humanos, y que otros programas comunitarios esenciales puedan continuar brindándose a la comunidad. Le animamos a dar su opinión de la manera que más le convenga. Puede utilizar Fund Phoenix, una herramienta presupuestaria interactiva disponible en inglés y español, que le permite proporcionar comentarios directos sobre el presupuesto de prueba del Fondo General propuesto para el año fiscal 2024-25, o por correo electrónico a budget.research@phoenix.gov. Puede comentar en las páginas de nuestras redes sociales de la municipalidad, City of Phoenix AZ, en Facebook o en X usando el hashtag PhoenixBudget, o llámenos al 602-262-4800. El administrador municipal presentará su propuesta del presupuesto para el año fiscal 2024-25 al Consejo Municipal de Phoenix el 7 de mayo del 2024, y la decisión del Consejo sobre el presupuesto tendrá lugar el 21 de mayo del 2024. Todas las opiniones de los residentes se transmitirán al Consejo Municipal para que las tengan en cuenta antes de tomar las decisiones presupuestarias definitivas. En noviembre del 2023, los votantes aprobaron un programa de bonos de obligación general, GO, de $500 millones, compuesto de 47 proyectos en toda la ciudad. Los proyectos incluyen nuevas y mejoradas estaciones de bomberos, parques, bibliotecas, centros comunitarios y recreativos, piscinas regionales y áreas de juegos acuáticos, mejoras en la infraestructura vial y de drenaje pluvial, proyectos de instalaciones para las artes y recursos para viviendas asequibles, energía renovable y proyectos de eficiencia del agua. Los proyectos de bonos Go se pagan con los impuestos secundarios sobre la propiedad y los proyectos comienzan este verano. Se puede encontrar más información en línea en Phoenix.gov/bond. Gracias por participar en el proceso del presupuesto y construcción del Phoenix del mañana.
Before we begin public comment, it is my pleasure to introduce Councilwoman Keisha Hodge Washington, who's here in council chambers, and also virtually Councilwoman Deborah Stark. Councilwoman Hodge Washington, do you have any comments before we begin?
Yes, I'll go quickly and just say, again, thank you to Budget and Research for your hard work in preparing today's budget, ensuring that we are fiscally responsible to ensure the continued sustainability of our city from a financial component. I also wanted to say thank you to the staff that it's in attendance, and most importantly to the community members that are in attendance. Thank you for taking the time on this beautiful Saturday morning to come down and speak and advocate for your community's needs. Community input, as we all know, is so essential in ensuring that the city meets the needs of all Phoenicians. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Stark, do you have any comments before we begin public comment?
I actually echo the comments that Councilwoman Hodge Washington made. I am happy to be on and anxious to hear what people have to say. And so with that, let's begin.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We will now call the names of the speakers. Please approach the microphone when your name is called. Before we begin, a reminder to the audience that we have interpretation available for Spanish language attendees provided by interpreter Mario Barajas for today's hearing.
We'll start with our virtual speakers. Our first speaker will be Julia Taggart. Our next speaker will be Luke Black.
Good morning, everyone. I just also want to note I'm in a chat thread with 4 other people that are having trouble getting access. The WebEx link it's taking them to a dead screen right now, and they can't see any of the videos, and they've tried logging in on both their phones and on their laptops. So I don't know if if the link needs to be reset, but folks are having a hard time. So thank you again for just taking some time to listen to community. Thank you, Council Members Stark and Hodge Washington, for being present today. My name is Luke. I am an organizer with Bolera in Action. I'm also a resident of Phoenix. I live in District 5. Wanted to just advocate for 3 things in this year's budget. I know that we have brought some of these up for you before and have got some support for you on these in the past, but it's going to be a really hot summer this year. We already know that we're going to have record heat, and we need more access to water. People are here in the summer outside, and they need access to more drinking fountains. So just ask that the city open up drinking water fountain access in all of the parks, keep them open 24 hours a day, and then find ways to get some water access outside of all of the City of Phoenix buildings. Secondly, I want to speak to the right for legal counsel for folks that are facing evictions. I know that this has been something that both of you has spoke positively on, and I want to encourage you all to continue to find ways to support that. We are in a housing crisis. People need support preventing evictions, and the city has a lot of ways that they can do that. So I would encourage you all to look in that 80 million that we have and find a few million that we could support the residents of Phoenix and keep them in their homes this year. And then finally, I would just encourage you to continue to look at our housing crisis. Folks that are living, we have residents of this city that are living without shelter, and they need support. The city has continued to work to increase that support, and more is needed. And so I would just continue to encourage you to find more ways to support folks that need shelter. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Isabel Garcia.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Hi, yes, my name is Isabel. I'm also with Poder in Action, and I'm also a lifelong resident of Phoenix. I live in District 7. I live on 7th Avenue and Broadway, and I want to echo the demands that were just stated around making sure that there's drinking fountains and access to clean and cool drinking water in parks, in all of the parks and outside of city-owned buildings and places. I also want to echo the demand for supportive housing, accessible and supportive housing for the thousands of people who are living outside right now, and also for legal assistance for folks who are facing evictions. And we're, as was mentioned, that we have a housing crisis right now. And I also, as a resident of District 7, I also want to ask for more but we have in the area that I live, there are many bus stops that it's just a pole. There is no shade, there are no benches, it's just a pole, and that's unacceptable, especially in the summer. It's just going to keep getting hotter and hotter. And so we also need all of our bus stops to have benches and shade, heat resistant benching, seating, and shade. There's also so many neighborhoods here in the area where I live where it's just stretches of street without any lighting. My neighborhood especially really needs our street lighting to be repaired, and we need more street lighting. So yeah, that's what I'm asking for.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Ben Laughlin.
Hi, my name is Ben. Thank you, council members Hodge, Washington, and Stark for being here. I live in District 7, but that doesn't really matter because y'all were the only ones that thought it was worth your time to come listen to council member or community members at the only budget hearing that wasn't during the work week. I'm feeling pretty frustrated. Like, how are we supposed to believe that y'all are paying attention to the community's budget needs when you can't even be bothered to show up at the meeting? It's so disrespectful to Phoenix residents that took time to speak or to listen to this meeting, and it's so disrespectful for the department leaders and city staff that work so hard to build this budget each year. That being said, I understand why you're extremely worried about a shortfall next year and possibly the year after that, but there's a simple solution. For the past several years, this council has allocated tens of millions of dollars to the police department each year for positions that are not filled. Rather than continuing to fund these ghost cops, use vacancy savings to cover the shortfall. Yes, the police union will be angry, but you're not supposed to be accountable to them. You're supposed to be accountable to us. Rather than protecting the police budget at all costs, we need you all to fund resources to actually keep people healthy and safe. We need you to increase the number of water fountains at public parks and other public spaces. We need you to establish a legal counsel program to support renters, and we need to increase the number of permanent supportive housing units. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Stephanie Gonzalez Espinoza.
Good morning. Whoops. Okay. Good morning. Thank you, council members Hodge and Stark, for actually being here today and caring enough to come and listen to community. So for our communities to be able to be strong and healthy, they need to have the resources to thrive. And right now, the city council isn't even meeting the most basic needs that our folks need. And last summer, at least 645 community members died from heat across the valley. The city of Phoenix has a moral obligation to make sure Phoenix residents have easy access to fresh, cool drinking water rather than paying police and park rangers to harass people at our parks and give our parks and other public spaces working water fountains, which is why today I'm advocating to increase the number of water fountains at parks and outside city Phoenix-owned buildings and spaces to create an emergency eviction legal service program for people facing evictions or experiencing tenant rights violations, and increasing the number of permanent supportive housing units for people who do not have housing and shelter. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Evelyn Castillo.
Good morning, council members. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. My name is Evelyn Castillo, and I'm the field organizer for the Take Back Our Homes campaign. I'm joining you all with 10 other members of the community here virtually. I've been organizing here in Phoenix for the past 4 to 5 years, and it's extremely heartbreaking to see the lack of funds going into affordable housing here in Arizona. This past year, Phoenix City Council only gave the housing department $2 million from the general fund, and only $1 million went towards legal assistance. We need to fund legal protection for tenants now. So we are here today fighting for 3 main issues. We're asking you all to create funding for a right to counsel program for people facing evictions or experiencing tenant rights violations. 2, to increase the number of permanent supportive housing units for people who do not have housing and shelter. And lastly, to increase the number of water fountains at parks and outside city of Phoenix-owned buildings and spaces, especially with the heat. It's super important that we protect our homeless population and just everyone in general. And over the last year, at least, 645 community members, just like how it was mentioned before, died from heat across the valley. The city of Phoenix, of course, has a moral obligation to make sure that they're protecting Phoenix residents, and that they have easy access to cool, fresh drinking water. And again, well-resourced communities are safer and healthier, and it's up to elected officials like yourselves to uphold these values and to support the well-being of Phoenix residents. And so I really appreciate all of y'all for listening, and we hope y'all receive our feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next will be
Chloe,
Christian.
real quick, before we go on to the next speaker, I just wanted to let the council members know and the audience that we have verified that the link is working to the meeting, and double-checked and also tested it ourselves here from the day, so folks should be able to get in. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification.
Our next speaker will be Christian Soto.
Hello, everyone. Oh, shit.
We can hear you, Christian.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christian Soto, and I'm here with the Take Back Our Homes campaign. I've been living here in Arizona for like the past 20 years. And growing up here, I always faced a lot of instability regarding to housing. We never stayed in one home for too long, and the fight to keep the lights on was constant. Our rent was always too high, and too many of my friends and family have gone through the eviction process as well. At one point, me and my family had to move out of the state because we could no longer afford to stay in Arizona. And then it was extremely difficult and such a hard time for my family, for us to always try to survive like year after year, until a year later we decided to come back. And even though the housing issues here haven't gotten any better, this is our home. And that's why I'm here advocating for the investment into affordable housing. We have one of the fastest eviction processes in the country. Not having any attorney is a huge factor in this problem and leaves tenants with no protections against evictions that may be not lawful. Rent control and strong tenant protections, like a right to counsel, can help slow the crisis down by keeping more families in their homes. More must be done in order to ensure families and neighbors stay housed in communities to which they belong. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Maisha Fish.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good morning. My name is Miesha Fish. I am with the Take Back Our Homes campaign. I'm a woman with disabilities and on a fixed income, importantly, at Social Security disability. My last experience with homelessness was due to my roommate breaking the lease, and I was evicted. I only receive income once a month, and on only the days I was only days shy of a payday when the sheriff gave me an hour to gather my belongings. I lost everything except what I could carry. I'm not saying having legal representation would have assisted in my situation. However, it most definitely was guaranteed outcome without. Shelter is not a right, it is a necessity. Thankfully, after 3.5 years wait, I was able to secure housing via a voucher. I was able to gain the necessary stability to continue my sobriety and give back to my community in the form of advocacy work. It is probably the reason I am so passionate about my advocacy work with organizations such as ACLU of Arizona and Unemployed Workers United and the Take Back Our Homes campaign. As a lead advocacy volunteer with UWU, I've sat in front of the Phoenix City Council and spoke at both Phoenix City Council and Tempe City Council with regards to the as source of income anti-discrimination ordinance that we were able to pass last year. Thank you so much for giving me a home and the opportunity to better my life. I am grateful. And I would like to add, if I may, over the last year, the Valley lost over 600 souls in our homeless community. I unfortunately knew one who passed because of heat exposure. How much is a human life worth? Our communities need your actions and support with both compassionately and fiscally. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Michelle Ashton.
Hello.
Michelle, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I work with seniors who are experiencing domestic violence and elder abuse, and we have to find them housing. And right now, this housing situation or the eviction defense that we need is dire. On March 28th, Channel 3 News did a report or did a news story, and we're given the details that 1 in 8 end with an eviction that they were told. That is completely false. And unfortunately, those that they were talking to, the Housing Association, that is not true. If anybody has listened to these evictions, it's one right after the other. It goes so quickly, it's scary, and you find yourself homeless. We need eviction defense direly so that people can get a chance and not just be grabbing, as Maisha said, their belongings of their whole life in their hands. Another thing I wanted to bring up is that we were so proud when the source of income passed, and then we found out that the Equal Opportunity Department did not follow through with their investigations. We need funding for housing, not to build new housing, but to keep people in their housing. This is very, very important. Seniors were the largest population of those experiencing homelessness, and they're one of our most vulnerable populations. It just doesn't make sense that funding is not being placed here to keep people in their homes. And it's not just a matter of writing a check to landlords who are charging bogus fees. It's more so about helping people by giving them defense when they are getting evicted by scum landlords. Please consider this when you guys are doing the budget. Police would not have to be responding so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Linda Simmons.
Morning, council members. My name is Linda Simmons. I was raised in Arizona when I was 18, but I've been back like 30 years. I've been helping with Take Back Our Home campaigns. Affordable housing is really important to me. I actually live in affordable housing. I've been here for 25 years and I'm very proud of it. But we now, even though it's supposed to be affordable housing, they're stopping and renting them to people that can afford market rates. So that's cutting out people that need the affordable housing. I think it's important that the units that should remain affordable for the people that need them. I've been on disability since I was 35, and I'm a caregiver for my 89-year-old husband. That's critical. And always feeling threatened by eviction, even though my rent has never been late, is really scary. My brother's been evicted, and he was without housing, and thank God he got it before he passed. So I really would appreciate that you consider keeping the homes that have been designated for affordable housing as affordable, and also make sure people get access if they were to be evicted. Last year, when my husband was in the hospital, when we didn't think he was going to make it, my rent was paid through the website from the city, and I get home to a 10-day notice of evict with intent to evict for non-payment. It was their system was down rather than to check to see why my payment wasn't there when I've always been on time. So those are things that I think you need to make sure the people that are managing the apartments for the city hold up their end of the deal. And I appreciate all that you've done for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Darren Jezik.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. My name is Darren Jezik. I'm with the Take Back Our Homes campaign. Did you ever have to fight for a place to live? You really didn't care when landlords and big corporations jacked up the rent hundreds of dollars, or you would have done something about it then. You really didn't care for years when landlords and their lawyers went after tenants who can barely afford rent and definitely can't afford a lawyer, or you would have done something about it. You really didn't care because it doesn't affect you. Well, it's time for you to see who it really affects, and it's not the rich or you. And it's way past time for things to work out in our benefit.
Thank you. Next will be Danielle Witcher.
Wrong on this end, too.
Okay, just 1 second.
Invalid event panelist numeric password. Try.
Darren, sorry about that. Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, you still have 1 more minute. I'm going to start the timer now. Feel free to go ahead.
And if it helps, Darren, the last thing we heard was you really didn't care because it didn't affect you.
Let me start over. My name is Darren Jezik. I'm with the Take Back Our Homes campaign. Did you ever have to fight for a place to live? You really didn't care when landlords and big corporations jacked up the rents hundreds of dollars, or you would have done something about it then. You really didn't care for years when landlords and their lawyers went after tenants who can barely afford rent and definitely can't afford a lawyer, or you would have done something about it then. You really didn't care because it doesn't affect you. Well, it's time for you to see who it really affects. And it's not the rich or you. And it's way past time for things to work out in our benefit. We are fighting for fair housing and tenants' rights. We are fighting to have a place to live, something you have no idea about, or you would have done something about it a lot sooner. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Next will be Danielle Witcher. Next will be Karina Ramirez.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you, council members, for being here today. Today, I am speaking in solidarity with Take Back Our Homes campaign, and as a Phoenix resident who sees their community in need of important community resources to maintain Phoenix a vibrant, safe, and healthy city. During this housing crisis, we are in desperate need of affordable housing and the ability to fight back unjust evictions, where the landlord currently holds all the power in the transaction. Funding for right to counsel would help vulnerable families and individuals maintain their human right to housing, which is indispensable for a community's well-being. Additionally, the coming months are bringing back the summer heat in the valley, every year hotter and deadlier than the last. We need access to cool, clean water in more spaces as the rising temperature affects us all, but it affects especially the increasing unhoused population. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Noelle Lewis.
Hello, this is Noelle Lewis. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Nice. Yes, so I'm here with Take Back Our Homes, and I just wanted to speak as part of the number of the statistics that we speak on of evictions in Phoenix. I've been here for 4 years, and I also wanted to speak on the need of using our funds that are going to be allocated this year, 54 to 80 million, towards housing, keeping us in our homes as a community, as residents of Phoenix, as taxpayers, allowing us to have counsel and representation, not just be going against corporations and landlords who always have representation, for allowing us to be heard as human beings, not just a number, not just have you paid, yes or no, and then be evicted, with them being in a state that has not only the highest or amongst the highest for eviction and also the shortest time to be evicted. It would be great for that budget to be allocated toward having representation, because of a lot of these evictions are unjust and unfair, but we don't have any representation. Definitely those funds to be used towards having more fountains in communities, parks, and in areas where we know and that the city can see with our eyes that there's more of a homeless, unhoused, unsheltered population. Due to the evictions being so high, that number could possibly increase, and for us to not have care from the eviction process up until where someone ends up on the street on drugs and still in need of basic essentials. Hydration and water is very important, and we shouldn't have to lose another 600.
Thank you, Noelle. Next, we'll have Jose Hernandez.
I just wanted to confirm you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Give me 1 second. I had some notes here. So, I just want to echo a lot of what's been talked about. I'm a Phoenix native, born and raised here. I've had the opportunity to live in a few other cities as well. And, I'm back here. This is my home, and this is where my family, my extended family has settled. We're first generation Arizonans, first generation American, son of immigrant parents who established residency and citizenship. And, to say we didn't grow up with a lot is an understatement. In that type of home, there are other things that as a child, as kids, we relied on. A lot of it was going to the local parks for pickup games after school, to play basketball so I could wait for my parents to get off work so I can get in the house. I would go hang out with my friends there. I remember taking the city bus all the way to Encano to go play basketball in the evenings and during the summers, going to Perry Park, using the public pool. My dad taught me how to play baseball at Eastlake Park. These are vivid memories I have growing up, and we didn't have a lot, so we relied on the things that were available to us. I didn't know how important it was back then to have those things growing up. It kept me out of trouble. It lent a lot to my personality, the competitive nature, and it helped me with a lot of social skills that I wouldn't have gotten had I not had those opportunities to hang out with my friends and make friends in the community. And that's what I want to highlight here. So, you know, it's these little things that matter. We may not see it more as we grow up. We may prosper. We know the city has prospered. It's grown. It's transformed. And with that, we need to make sure we elevate our community with it. And we're asking for a couple things. We need more water fountains at parks outside of city and Phoenix-owned building spaces. It's going to be another record summer. We see folks getting evicted. We need emergency eviction legal services and number of supportive housing units for people who don't have housing and shelter. So just want to remind you guys that as a Phoenix native, we need to help the community that is not well off. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Maria Sanchez. Maria, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Perfect, thank you. My name is Maria. I'm a resident of District 3, and I'm showing up today because I'm concerned on how we're treating our unsheltered community, right? We're criminalizing being unsheltered, and we're about to face some heat records again this summer. We are not finding solutions to house our folks that are facing challenging times, and we're also not helping if we're not providing shade, water, and actually building more permanent housing for them. So I'm showing up as someone who also has been homeless with my son. We need to actually be investing in solutions, and we have the opportunity as a city every year with our budget, especially this year with the surplus that's coming. And I do think that our city is just not taking seriously a lot of the climate that's changes that are happening. There's not been a lot of solutions going into this, and even this last week, right across the U.S., we saw a lot of the impacts that are coming. So I'm showing up again to once again ask that we take this seriously, and as folks have previously said, we need to be able to keep our community in their houses. Having to relocate to new neighborhoods all the time prevents you from building community and does impact your safety if you're constantly having to move, which is what I'm hearing the story of a lot of us that had to constantly be moving. So I'm hoping that the council take these concerns seriously as they are getting more and more, increasing every year. Thank you for your time today and for the actual council members who showed up today.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Annie Eldon.
Morning, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. First of all, so my name's Annie Eldon. I am a member of Phoenix in the District 4 and the area code 85006. I've lived here for 12 years and I absolutely love the city and I love to try to build the community and everything. So thank you so much for your time. Especially thank you for getting the virtual budget hearings. I think it's so important and I helped to lead the fight for this last year. So I really appreciate you listening to us and making them happen. And thank you, Councilwoman Stark and Hodge Washington for showing up today. I really appreciate you both being here. So I am also the president of Phoenix Spokespeople. We're a nonprofit that focuses on safety and comfortableness for riding bikes around the city. And we are asking for a few funding things this year. First of all, please ensure that there are funds to continue to build protected bike lanes on 3rd Street from Lincoln to Roosevelt. South Phoenix is still quite segregated from the rest of Phoenix, and the bike lane is one way to begin to build a connection. It also furthers a goal of creating a north-south bikeway. Next, please continue to fund Complete Streets by creating a designated Complete Streets position in the Streets Transportation Department. This way, they would be able to focus on specific ways to make streets complete. Thirdly, please continue to fund and implement project suggestions from the Phoenix CAN program. This is a fabulous program, and I really hope we can continue it. In general, please have a designated fund for completing quick build projects. That could just be a real big benefit. So thank you so much, and have a lovely day.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to our in-person speakers. First, we'll have Salvador Camacho, followed by Conyer Gillum.
Buenos días a todos los que vinieron hoy. Muchas gracias a los miembros de la Oficina de Administradores, personal de presupuesto e investigaciones de la ciudad y a todos los miembros de nuestra comunidad. Me llamo Salvador Camacho, he vivido en la ciudad de Phoenix toda mi vida y he tenido el placer de servir a la comunidad de Phoenix como un bombero por los últimos 7 años. Estamos presentes para crear conciencia sobre la campaña de crisis de bomberos de Phoenix. Nuestra presencia demuestra la seriedad de esta crisis y sus terribles consecuencias. El promedio de respuesta en Phoenix se está acercando a 9 minutos, lo cual es mucho más alto del promedio nacional de 5 minutos. Esos pocos minutos y segundos pueden determinar la vida o la muerte para usted o su ser querido. Les pido que por favor tomemos un momento de silencio. Imaginen a alguien que ustedes quieren mucho. Piensen cuál es la magnitud de 9 minutos si usted o su ser querido necesita a los bomberos de Phoenix. Por una razón como un ataque del corazón, un incendio de casa o un niño que se ha hundido. Tomemos un minuto.
Good morning to everybody and everybody that came here. I thank you very much, members of the Office of Administration, the staff and budgeting and investigations from the city, and all of the members from our community. I'm Salvador Camacho, and I've lived in the city of Phoenix all my life, and I've had the pleasure to serve the community of Phoenix as a fireman for the last 7 years. We're here to create awareness regarding the campaign and the crisis that firemen are going through in the city of Phoenix. Our lovely demonstration and the seriousness of this, the seriousness of this crisis and the terrible consequences and the average response time in Phoenix is getting near 9 minutes, which is something much more higher than the national average, which is 5 minutes. These past minutes and these very few minutes and seconds can determine the life or death for our loved ones. And I ask that please we take a moment of silence. 1 minute is what I ask, and we want to think about them. What's the magnitude of 9 minutes? If your loved one needs a fireman, a Phoenix fireman, for a reason like a heart attack, or our children that have drowned. So let's take a moment of silence for 1 minute.
Nada más quiero que puedan mirar la magnitud, que 9 minutos es la relación de la comunidad de los miembros de la ciudad de Phoenix. Para reducir el promedio de respuestas emergentes efectivamente, el cuerpo de bomberos de la ciudad de Phoenix exige más bomberos, paramédicos, camiones de bomberos y más estaciones. Les pedimos que apoyen a nuestros líderes elegidos para obtener estos recursos. Si quieren más información, les pedimos que visiten nuestra página de internet en phoenixfirecrisis.com. Muchas gracias.
Quisiera pedirle el internet, el sitio web. ¿Cuál es otra vez? ¿Me lo puede decir despacio?
phxfirecrisis.com.
phxfirecrisis.com.
Exacto.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Also, I want us to see, and we lament it, or we that these 2 minutes in relationship to the community that the members of the city of Phoenix, we want to see that these response times and these times of emergencies, we want them to go down. And in fact, Phoenix firefighters require more firemen, paramedics, fire trucks, and fire stations. And we ask that you support our local elected leaders so that we can receive this funding. If you want more information, we ask that you visit our website on the internet at phoenixfirecrisis.com. That's phxfirecrisis.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our last speaker will be Conyer Gillum.
Hi, my name is Connor Gilliam. I am a high school student located in downtown Phoenix. I am also the lead student for the City of Phoenix Office of Sustainability Program. Today I am here to discuss the importance of recycling in restaurants as well as in apartment complexes. As someone who has previously worked in a restaurant, a lot of the restaurants do not have recycling at all. Everything is thrown into the dumpsters, and that is a lot of waste that could be used to help reduce our waste and get more recycling. That's just not happening. Everything is singly wrapped and all is just thrown away. These are important. We can't have this happening, and it needs to be reduced. I am also someone that has a family living in an apartment in District 6. Our apartment does not allow recycling, and for my family to recycle, we have to take it elsewhere. Many families do not have the option to be able to bring the recycling somewhere else. If apartment complexes are not allowing recycling to their individuals, this is so much waste that could be used in helping reduce. As a city who's constantly pushing for sustainability and pushing towards their sustainability goals, we need to make sure that all members of the community have the options to participate in reducing our waste. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman, that is all the speakers that we have for today's hearing. If you had any more remarks before we close? No? Yes.
Nothing else for me. Thank you.
I have none either.
Thank you, Councilwoman Stark, as well. Thank you for participating and providing feedback on the fiscal year 2024-25 proposed trial budget. This concludes the hearing.
So many of us, we have an affinity, and there's a special place in our heart for our HBCUs. We know how special we are. We know how special the campus is, how special the yard is, how special our bands are, the halftime show. But we miss out a lot on opportunity because some people just see us as an HBCU. They don't see what we've added to the world, what we've added to the country. And so it's about opportunity. Phoenix, when I first moved here, I didn't know anything about Arizona. I used to think it was just cactus